Evan's not going to make it today, so I guess I'll convene our meeting of the Finance and Personnel Committee. First item on the agenda is to adopt the minutes. And I'll go ahead and second that. Who's the secretary?
So you mean as far as acting?
As far as keeping track of these actions.
I'll let
Yeah.
figure it out.
Okay. So, all in favor of adopting the minutes? I guess that's by acclamation since there was a motion and second and people here. Russ, why don't you jump into the superintendent's report?
All right. Average daily population, Rappahannock with 14 at 3.90%, Shenandoah County with 165 at 44.96%, and one with 180 at 50.14%. Member jurisdiction ADP is 359. We currently have 43 contract beds with Page County. We had 102 with Culpeper, with a total facility ADP of 504. We currently have 27 officer vacancies. This does include the 8 positions held for vacancy savings. We do have 2 LPN vacancies as well. We currently have 3 officer candidates and 1 LPN in background, as well as 1 officer and 1 LPN scheduled for an interview. Update to that, the officer and the LPN have both been interviewed. They're again also in background, so we have 2 LPNs in background. We should have those done here very soon and have them on board.
Yeah.
We'll be back up to full staff again.
It's been a while since we've been there.
Yeah. Recruitment and retention, February 18th. Staff attended the job fair at LSC Communications. LSC Communications is closing its plant in Strasburg. Roughly 400 employees will be let go. Approximately 27 applications were handed out during that job fair. We had a lot of good, interest. We've actually hired, I believe it's 3 people already from LSC. So, we'll see if we get more interest. I think a lot of people, they worked there a long time. They're kind of apprehensive to make a change, but the ones we interviewed, they were really excited about it. We've had people that's worked here for a couple of years that actually came from there. So they're talking to people and going, hey, this is a good career. So hopefully we'll get some more interest and, prayers go out to those people looking for those positions as well. We've talked to a lot of people that's been there 25, 30 years. So that's a huge adjustment for people. But, nothing for facility grounds and maintenance, MA programs and services. Again, we provided work for all 3 jurisdictions, landscaping at the park there in Rappahannock. Shenandoah County looks like we did some painting and landscaping at the park as well.
I want to thank you for sending the crew out to do some litter collection.
Turned
out very well.
Good. Yeah.
We've got more.
It's amazing how it just kind of, they'll do 522 here, and while they're actually out there picking up trash, people will throw the trash out the windows. It's really depressing. Yeah. So, looks like we also did some cleanup at the fairgrounds as well over this period.
Help move it. We appreciate it.
I'm sorry.
Front row little league.
The ball field.
Yeah.
And that's really all I have for the superintendent's report.
Stephanie? This is where we are financially.
$346,000 was received from the compensation board in January for the December 2019 salaries and benefits reimbursement. Contract bed rental billing for January was $105,000 for Culpeper and $57,000 for Page. The total bed rental revenue year to date for FY20, including revenue from medical, housing, commissary, and telephone fees, is 1.2 million, just over 1.2 million. January marks just over 58% of the year. Expenditures are at almost 54.5% used, and revenue is at 68% realized. With the transfer of $74,942 from the FY19 true-up that was approved by the authority board at our last meeting, the capital reserve account balance is now $482,950, and I included a breakdown of the funds that are in this account and what year they came from. And what the percentages were by the counties for each year.
Thank you. I guess linking the two, the Page revenue, is that subject to the new rates, old rates, to the
That's the
agreement?
old. That's the old rates. I just received their signed agreement back this week, so that will take effect for March.
March 1st. That's all I
Any
have.
questions on the finance report?
None. Thanks, Stephanie, for the update. I like that capital so we can see exactly where the money total is, but where it came from. And
Right.
just maybe keep that
Yeah, I've
spreadsheet
been,
each year.
yep, and that's what I've been doing as we go along, as I've been tracking it, so.
We don't want to get too far ahead of our skis, but there probably will be an opportunity to invest next year at the end of true up FY20 and make sure we're on a good path forward. So, drafts of proposed FY21 budget.
So I have included 3 versions of the budget. As we discussed at the last meeting, we wanted to see different options for holding different amounts of positions vacant so that we could see different vacancy savings. There's an option to hold 8 positions vacant, 12 positions vacant, and 15 positions vacant. Other changes from the last version of the budget to this one include a decreased bond payment due to our refinancing. I hadn't received the new schedule until lately. It decreased by $242,000 a year. Excuse me. I also decreased the bed rental revenue, as we discussed, that we thought we had it too high. Based this on 75% of our anticipated annual total, which I calculated given Culpeper County's monthly contribution based on their current contract of 100 beds per month, and an estimate of Page County keeping an average of 60 inmates per month here, both of which at a rate of 37 days.
60 you think is reasonable? Or 60 inmates?
60 inmates for Page is what we
I think that's,
estimated as their average.
I think it's a good number to go.
And then, so Culpeper plus 60 inmates from Page, sum that all up,
Yeah, the
times by
total.
75%.
Right, the total amount of revenue that we anticipate is just over 2.1 million.
Okay.
I've calculated 75% of that as just over 1.6 million, which is what we've budgeted for revenue for there.
Okay.
Also, our health insurance, Anthem has reported that we will have no cost increase or decrease this year, so it'll stay level. And those are all the changes that have been made since the previous. Oh, the other change that has been made is I fixed the locality percentages at the bottom to match the true up. There was a rounding difference between those, but we went with
That's
the
one of
true
the
up
things
numbers.
you mean to allocate this budget?
Yes, yeah, for the
That's
21
Sort of things I
budget.
wanted to talk about, and
Yes.
of course we can each handle it however we want. Okay. Doug, yeah.
No, I think, thanks for the different options. I think part of that's to look at Russ. I mean, obviously, we're trying to fill more of the staff positions. What your level of comfort is. Right now, I'll say probably the 12. I think we certainly can do better than the 18. The danger about getting too close to 15 is you come back and,
Right.
I know it's also limited how many beds we can rent out. That's the flip
Well,
side.
my recommendation is gonna be the 12. And I'm basing that on if we can get enough staff, because we have 2 empty housing units. So if I can get enough staff to open those 2, then I can, of course,
Generate more revenue.
generate more revenue. So to do that, I would need the 12 option to kind of accomplish that.
Yeah, I guess to that end, if we got to that point in the year, then I think we could recognize revenue and expense at the same time. My goal is to try to get our operating budget, as we kind of move on into the future, to get closer and closer to what we actually are spending, going out the door.
Close to reality.
Yeah, and it's, I don't like that our chart, shows 30, 28, and we need that number to be much less. But the fact that it's 30 and 28, 12 doesn't give me a lot of concern, because we haven't seen 12. Saw 16 back in April of 2018. And so that's just my thought. Now, that said, if we continue to budget that way, and does provide that potential unspent budgeted revenue to be allocated to capital at the end of the fiscal year. But when you layer that on top of not recognizing all the bed space, it's just, I think we're just being way too conservative. Whereas I think we should be conservative, so that none of us have to go back to our boards during the middle of the year and say,
We don't, yeah, that's right, we don't want to.
We need more money.
The good news is we've been able to go back and say, look, here's what we didn't spend.
yes, which is always a good
Here's the
thing.
return, or our fourth quarter payments, instead of X, it's Y.
I'd like to deal, my dollar amounts are tiny compared to yours and Shenandoah. I'd like to be able to invest those during my budget process rather than
After.
after. So that, just so that you knew where I'm coming from. So, but I don't want to be over aggressive either. It's not something that we want to, you know.
Sure. You know, I mean, none of us have a crystal ball. So, you know, I mean, just over the last week, I had 8 applicants, you know, and they come in waves. So, you know, all of a sudden I could get 8 more and then another, you know, but I mean,
And then you could go 2 months and
Get nothing.
not lose an
Right,
employee.
right.
And so
it's hard to say, you know.
So, I mean, I'd certainly be comfortable with 12 and.
I think as long as I'm able to come back and communicate, hey, we've got people in the pipeline, if we're getting to that point where we're gonna hit those frozen applicants, we can come back to you and go, you know, if we can fill these, then we can fill these many beds, which is gonna generate that much
And at that
revenue.
time of the year, we might be in a position where we have actually recognized
Sure.
$1.6 million in bed rental revenue, and we can say, well, there's still 3 months left, and Culpeper still is gonna pay us $300,000 more dollars. Go ahead, we'll amend the budget and both sides.
We've been lucky that our percentage has gone from 59, almost 60 couple percent to 52. That's where the biggest savings for us has been. But no, I think, you know, at least we can go in with the next full authority meeting if, you know, Russ's recommendation, at least to have that discussion. You know, there's a difference between 12 and 15, not a whole lot of difference. At some point, if you get, like I said, you want to fill them, you come back, you'll be asking about 100. Trick is going to be if your percentages jump that year from
Yeah.
6 to 9, and you had that increase in number, that'll hit you.
That was the other thing I wanted to bring up was and we talked a little bit about this in the past, what percentages should we really be using to predict, that's what we're doing, predict what portion of FY21 each one of us should plan to budget. Because what we pay, that's going to be determined by the FY21 true-up process. Is what it is based on the previous 3 years' usage, of which 18 months of that is known, and the next 18 months makes up the balance of that. And so the percentages that are used on this spreadsheet include fiscal year 18, which will have no part of the eventual 21 true-up.
These are fiscal year 19. It's the end of 19.
But I mean, it actually has usage numbers from 18.
Right, 2017.
Yeah, and so they won't come to play at all. So I think but I'm going to budget locally on a percentage that tracks back the last 18 months of usage, and assume that it's going to be similar the next 18 months. Which, if you look at just if you assume the FY20 stays the same as it is right now, the first 7 months continues out, and you lump in 19 and 20, then Rappahannock's closer to 6% than 5.39, and Shenandoah is 43.2, and Warren's 50.8. So each of us has to really decide how we're going to break up that big pie. We have to decide as a body what invoice you're going to send. And it's kind of two different things that we have to be comfortable with together. But I know that I'm going to make sure I budget enough to cover a higher percentage than this. Because I think my share is going to be higher than that by the time we get to the end of 21 and into 22 as we're doing the true-up for 21. Even though I'm only posting 14s here. If I can keep that up, I'll be good. So I'll step down off that.
So this will be on for the March agenda meeting for the full authority board for consideration. Have
Would
we
you
gotten
like
all-
me, sorry.
No, I'll say, have you gotten, as far as the state numbers, I've seen some sheriff numbers and stuff bounce around. Where are we at? I've seen per diem numbers, and when I was down there, I lobbied to try to get the per diems increase, and I haven't seen anything lately, but I'm not anticipating any changes. But have you heard anything?
We haven't gotten anything like that.
So are you guys agreeing to use 12 vacant?
I think to carry forward, we'll have another FMP meeting next month as well, but I think it sounds like right now, at least move forward with the 12, and we can have that discussion at the full board.
Okay.
And we'll
8
just
seems
keep
too
the-
conservative, and
So just keep these on the agenda for and that way
I think everybody else can see it, yeah, absolutely.
Well, didn't you say at the last meeting that if you had more staff, that you have localities, other localities that would like to
Oh,
have higher inmates?
Paige would like for us to take more people. I'm sure there's others that would be interested in renting.
Yeah,
out.
that's why you'd like to stay at 12 versus 15. is-
Correct. Correct. You know, and you know, our staff has been running bare bones since day one. You know, so I need to get them to a point where, you know, if somebody calls out, or I need to send somebody to a school so they can continue training, that we're not short-staffed or locking the facility down because we're at minimum staffing, or if we've got somebody at the hospital. And those are all the things we do right now, you know. And so we need to get to a point where we're hopefully not operating just by the skin of our teeth.
Right,
Yeah.
and I see that, and you know, the 12 I see as a comfort zone, but like you say, when you've got a plant that's shutting down and the chance of more people in all of a sudden, if you've got the assurance from some of these localities that they would increase their bed, if you could increase your staff, it looks like it would offset each other some.
But, you know, I mean, we don't know, I mean, there's a lot of people we have apply, but they can't pass the background.
Right, I understand.
So, you know, there's a
You
whole.
need
Yeah,
40 people for a 20-person slot.
I would draw a distinction between what is budgeted and direction to the superintendent and what he's allowed to fill. And I think he's, go get it, fill the position.
Sure.
But reality has shown it's very difficult to get down to 6.
Oh.
And no matter how hard he tries, there's enough leaving that the ones that come in, you just can't get there. And then we're just trying to crystal ball where we'll actually end up at the end of 21 with vacancies. Not that you're not allowed, if you get to 13 or 12, you can't hire one more person.
Prior to last year, our budget cushion, so to speak, was the difference between the 8 and the actual.
Yeah.
Now that we've got some bed rental space come in, there's the additional cushion, and that's the difference between 75 and 100% of realization of that, because we've always said, we're not gonna go back to our localities mid-year and ask for more money for operating costs. We don't wanna do that. So it's really about trying to, what's the comfort zone of not being too conservative, but being conservative enough to make sure we got things covered here, and you know, hopefully we put some money back to capital. But that's the other thing, we have not had to go back to our localities and ask for capital funds.
Nor do we really want to.
Nor do we want to.
So I just want, if we adopt a budget that says 12 vacancies, I don't want that to be a mandate to Russ that he can't hire a person to get down to 11. That's an average at the end of
It's our average through the year, and
Yeah.
you know, and I'm always gonna communicate back to the authority, hey, we're getting close to this number, I've got this many people in the pipeline, you know. I think it's just I communicate and you guys say, stop.
And we may have already had the discussion that you've opened another pod or whatever, and we're rolling in revenue that would totally justify.
Do you currently have 27 vacancies?
Correct.
Minus the 8 that you cushioned or used as
Well, the
their-
27 does include the 8,
Okay,
so that does include the 8.
So 19.
19 true vacancies.
19 true vacancies.
Okay.
No, I mean, I just worry that if we put you on a narrow 12 and you get 19 that are really good, if they've passed everything here, they're gonna go somewhere else and then you're not gonna get them back. If, you know,
Nice problem to have, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
It would be.
it would, you know, but I mean, you know, if I see that we're going that direction. If I see I've got that many applicants, then I'm gonna notify you guys as authority, hey, you know, and then, you know, if we have to, you know, we could call an emergency meeting or whatever needs to be done, you know, or, but
Your attrition rate is big enough that if you dip under it, it's gonna come back the other way before too long.
Yeah.
right.
I mean, with that big a plant, like you said, closing, it just, that opportunity is hopefully not gonna come around too often.
Sure,
You don't wanna see
sure.
industry closing down like that.
Right. You know, we have never been at a point where we're attracting people from other agencies. You know, and that's because the salaries are
Yeah,
just
but we're
across the
close.
board in this region are, you know, pretty much equal now.
Right.
You know, we were way behind, now we're on equal playing ground. The only way you're gonna attract people that are already certified is if you're paying more, you know, and then even then, that's not a guarantee, because, you know, if people have been with an agency for a long time, they're vested there, you know, and there's things that are gonna hold them there, so.
Right.
You know, we have to rely upon recruiting new people into this field,
Right.
which is difficult to do right now.
And the thing about them is they're close and you're close. So that's gonna be an
Right.
attraction versus some of the other.
And even to the
facilities.
east, you know, I mean, you're competing with that as well, where the salaries are much, much higher.
What, did they talk about where their employee base was coming from? You know, if you, for instance, if you went to Family Dollar up here, you know, it used to be, Family Dollar was between 20 and 30% Warren County, and it went all the way into Winchester and West Virginia for the draw. Probably on average, it was probably 30% for most of the industries out here. Where was their base coming from?
I don't know, I can tell you the people that we've interviewed and we've talked to, it was a mix of Warren and Shenandoah counties.
Okay,
So, you know,
so a good lot of local.
Yeah.
I would assume, you know, there's probably some, you know, coming out of the West Virginia area, maybe Warrensville, things like that, but I would say the bulk of it's probably Warren, probably a few from Page.
Okay.
But I'd say the bulk is probably Warren and Shenandoah counties.
Okay.
But that's just a guess based on what we've seen. I'm sure we could, you know, contact them and find out.
Anything else on the budget we need to discuss at this point in time?
Just, just keep, we'll know between now and the next meeting if there are any changes at the state level that would impact our budget, and one way or the other. We'll keep our, hopefully this is worst case scenario, and anything else would be additional revenue would improve the bottom line. So just keep an eye on it.
When are those state changes expected?
That's the second week of March, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're getting close.
Okay.
In theory, there won't be any deadlock with all the three.
One party, yeah, you should, hopefully, will not have an extended session or a delay. So keep our fingers crossed.
All right, any other outstanding issues?
Just maintenance facility wise, everything running in good order?
It is, you know, of course, we're constantly dealing with, you know, things needing repaired, you know, upkeep, but I mean, it's nothing dramatic. So, it is one of our biggest expenses is maintaining the building. Of
course.
You know, it's, you know, it's an investment and we try to keep everything tip-top shape. So, but, there's nothing out of the ordinary that, you know, we need to be concerned about. No equipment failing or anything that we're aware of.
Probably another, 30, 45 days, your outdoor maintenance crew's gonna have to get ready, get geared up and running in next couple months. And y'all got equipment you need to replace, anything? Have y'all done any of that?
No, we're pretty good. I mean, a lot of those mowers we bought, was it last year?
2018.
2018. Yeah, everything's good by quick, but everything's still in good shape and no issues, and we'll be ready.
Very good.
Your water collection should be in good shape.
The problem is that we get it all at once, and then it, you know,
Through the summer, then
through the-
you're-
right. Yeah. If we could just spread it out. You know,
All right, the meeting schedule is listed. Then if there's a motion to adjourn, I'll take it and
So moved.
second it, and it is. You're adjourned.
In the books.
Thank you, Stephanie.